I do not write anything from my workshop until I determine what the point that when this parent shows up, what is the thing that they are going to learn that will change the way that they view the world forever. Their irreversible insight. If I don't have that set one paragraph, one sentence, irreversible insight, I don't write anything else. Attention chiropractors, slayers of subluxation, unleashers of the imprisoned impulse, and protectors of the developing brain. Welcome to the Cranial Doc Podcast, where we master the work that actually changes lives. Craniopathy, nervous system-based care, and the business systems that let you scale without selling your soul. I'm Dr. Anthony Pellegrino, pediatric chiropractor, certified craniopath, and proud automation geek. Let's dive in. Attention chiropractors, slayers of subluxation, unleashers of the imprisoned impulse, and protectors of the developing brain. Welcome to the Cranial Doc Podcast, where we master the work that actually changes lives. Craniopathy, nervous system-based care, and the business systems that let you scale without selling your soul. I'm Dr. Anthony Pellegrino, pediatric chiropractor, certified craniopath, and proud automation geek. Let's dive in. What is up there, subluxation slayers? Welcome to another episode of the Cranial Doc Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Anthony Pellegrino, and if you guys have not been on my social media or on my email list or just following anything, which again, you should, thecranialdoc.com is the email list. Free email list, which is awesome, at the Cranial Doc on Instagram is my socials. Something that you should know is that we are in a huge production season. If you haven't been able to tell by the amount of shit that hits your inbox and podcasts and everything else like that. And coming up over the next couple months, I am doing an awesome talk. I am super excited about it at the ICPA gathering. I hope that I see you there. I have a 25-minute block there, so I'm just going to go really hard, hitting with my normal tone and energy and excitement and saying some things that are going to piss some people off at ICPA. So I hope that I see you there at the gathering. And then I was invited to share again about our systems and procedures and cranial work at Dr. Amy Spolster's VIP Day for Focus, which if you are part of that, I hope I see you there. I'm super excited. If you are not part of that, I think that Amy's program is fantastic and is a huge part of what we've become in practice. I am also writing multiple different workshops for the office at the same time, which is specifically one on mouth breathing. We're doing a tongue tie workshop. There's a bunch of other stuff coming up that I am writing. And I am also putting the finishing touches on the recording of my Foundations of Cranial Adjusting course, which pay attention here because I will give you the information for that coming up shortly when it's done. All that being said, there is a ton of different things going on, and it's really easy to get lost in the mix. I, with my ADHD brain, am a chronic procrastinator, and left to my own devices, I would be writing everything like the night before, and nothing would ever be good or excellent. And that's a problem because in this phase of practice in my life, I'm so passionate about this work, just like you are. And everything that I want to put out there, I want it to be 100% proud of everything. I don't want to do anything or have any commitments aren't what I feel excellent. And so I've created, here we go, systems to make sure that all of these talks work and executed flawlessly. So in one of the last episodes, I talked to you about my AA calendar called Motion. You can check that out, usemotion.com. I don't have a referral thing or anything. I just love it. And essentially you can do like individual tasks. Like each week I want to look at my ads and I only check my emails one day for this long. And it organizes your calendar based off of exactly what tasks you have, when they're due, and exactly what you should be working on every single second. You can also in there put project folders. For example, for the ICPA talk, I created a project folder called ICPA Talk and then broke down all of the little different steps that need to happen in order to be able to make this event happen on this day, this talk be perfect, right? And basically it will schedule to make sure that step 1 happens, step 2 happens, step 3, step 4 in the right order to make sure that everything's going to be done and perfect on that day. So all that being said, there's all of these different pieces that are going on. I used AI to basically help me say, this is the exact talk that I want to do, help me understand the exact tasks that I do and the exact due dates that these need to be done by to make sure that I execute this talk perfectly on this day. And I fine-tuned this and fine-tuned this and fine-tuned this and fine-tuned this. And now I essentially, every time I have a new workshop, we just added one, all I do is I plug in and I say, hey, this is the new workshop that we're doing, title, on this day. It analyzes and says, what are the different things that are due by this time? How long do each of those take? My VA uploads it into our calendar, and then I am making sure that I'm doing everything on time or getting alerted if I am overbooked, which I almost always am, and it's just the season that we are in. So I love this so much, and I know that you guys love putting together material. You love this. And I am going to share with you today the exact checklist that I have been going through, writing all of these different talks that have been leading to getting them done beautifully, impactfully, life-changingly, with less stress on me because everything is done by a specific time. So what we've created is this essentially workshop checklist that I'm going to break down, okay? Step by step by step by step. And so what we're going to go through is that exact framework, specifically around parent workshop, like I'm doing in March. I'm writing a brand new workshop on mouth breathing and the nervous system. And so these are all of the different pieces that we use to be able to make this workshop so impactful. So step one, the first thing that you're going to create is a master doc. Call this the source of truth, right? Where you can keep all of your different pieces, all of your notes. As you go through the different steps, you just put this in this master document so that at any time, let's say you just put all your notes in there, you wanted to make sense of it all as you go through all this different stuff. You take that document, you can look at it, you can see, you can make revisions. You can also upload it to AI and say, hey, help me make sense of all of these different notes and put this into a slideshow, a PowerPoint, whatever it is. Give me these specific blocks. So I have one master document where I'm putting everything in. There are different sections of this document that we fill in. The sections are, of course, like name, title, blah, 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 due date, everything else like that. So that at any time, if I want help exploring every different piece, if I think I put in a ton of notes in the middle of the night when I was sleeping and I wanted to make it something more coherent, I can just take that document, download it, upload it to a new thread and say, hey, can you just make this something coherent? Can you update those sections? And that way you're not having one thread with hundreds of different prompts that gets really slow. So you keep that master document, so you can always open up a new thread in Claude or ChatGPT or anything else like that you're using at any different time. But those sections, other than that, okay, we talked about the title. We're going to talk about the 6-block spine, which you're going to put in there. We're going to talk about your teaching loop, stories, your slide map, your call to action, and your rehearsal notes. I do this in Google Docs, so I can edit from anywhere, and I can keep a revision list as well. So you don't have to keep like a version list or anything else like that. That's how I do this. The next step, and really the first thing that I want to lead, and all of these talks I've led with the first step, other than getting that master document, is determining for this workshop what my irreversible insight is. I do not write anything from my workshop until I determine what it is, what the point that when this parent shows up, what is the thing that they are going to learn that will change the way that they view the world forever. Their irreversible insight. If I don't have that set one paragraph, one sentence, irreversible insight, I don't write anything else. At this stage of the game, I am not here to be fluff, another thing that somebody just learns and says, okay, great. Even if they don't pursue care in our office, I need them to have the opportunity to be changed forever. The way that I like to think about the irreversible insight and how to program that is, they come in with the belief of this, and so because they believe that, they do this. So they come in thinking X, they do Y, but they fail, which is the reason they're here in the first place, because of Z. The new upgrade is A, right? They come in thinking this, because they think that if they do this, it doesn't work because of this. This is their new truth. This is the new thing. Can we say it clean? And does it hit? That one paragraph governs absolutely everything. What is the one paragraph that when I say, when this person enters my workshop, when they are here to learn from me, what is the thing that should they say and understand and hear this, their life and worldview will be different forever. If I don't have that, I don't do the workshop. Once that's set up, what we're going to start to address is false escapes, okay? this is very important. So some of this is going to be objections, right? But we're going to call it, instead of objections, we're going to call it false escapes that people chase. So we're going to take this from a cranial perspective here, just to give you a really good example of what a false escape would be. So when you present a brand new truth to somebody, that is going to challenge them. And so they're going to have different little escape routes that they take to make things easier than accepting this new truth that will change them forever. So from a cranial perspective, and from you listening to this, I know, right, for example, that addressing the cranial through a chiropractic lens and framework, I know that this will change the profession. Like, I know this. That's going to be something I'm talking about at the ICPA, right? I know that this is where we need to stake our claim for a number of different reasons. Hearing that and making the choice to say, I'm no longer going to go wide, I'm going to go deep and commit to learning this, even though it's hard, is going to create a lot of different false escapes for some different people. One of the false escapes, for example, would be, yes, I know this is important, but the answer is adding a myo munchie, bringing in a myo, referring. Rather than doing the deep work here, I want to learn everything else that everybody else is doing instead of taking the time to go really deep on this thing that I need to learn. So for each of these false escapes, we want to think of what are the major things that people are going to say, you know what, before that, why don't we look at this before they accept this as truth? We want to think about, for each of those 3 to 5 false escapes that people chase, why is it tempting for somebody to go that way? For them escaping from accepting the truth that you're presenting, what do they have to gain, right? What is their reason for what is tempting for them? Why is it easier if they accept that? And if they do that and go that route and escape that way, why does it fail? After we have the 3 to 5 false escapes, we're going to counter frame against that. We're going to create a paragraph that is essentially the new rule or a better lens that addresses those different false escapes. And we're going to create one punchline that exposes the trap. This is what we're saying. I know you might feel this way, but if you do this, this is what was going to happen. This is where we're going to end up. I know that we talk about the cranium is very important. I know that it's really, really, really hard, and it's much easier to just go and think about everything that every other profession that would do instead of us staking our flag in this. But if we do that, we will lose credibility and authority in the profession, and we will never take authority in the pediatric space the way that we all think that chiropractic deserves to be. That would be a counterframe against those individual false escapes. The next thing that we're going to think about, once we understand what we want them to irreversibly understand, and once we understand where they would go in objection to be able to accept that, we want to start to think about how they are feeling. We want to understand their entry state. What are the emotions, feelings, concerns about anybody who is entering that room, and write it down. What do they feel? What do they believe? What do they do right now because of that? And we want to write down and document the exit, right? The exit state. After they leave your workshop, what are they feeling? What do they now believe? What actions they're taking because of that? And once we have the entry and exit state, the cost of not acting. If we do nothing, what happens? If we continue not making this change, where will they end up? We just create a 2-sentence summary, 1 sentence for entry state, 1 sentence for exit state, 1 to 2 sentences for cost of not acting. Put all that in there. Once we have that, we are really moving along. At this point in writing your workshop, you should be so effing excited to do it, even though you haven't actually written 1 slide yet. We've talked about having an overall document that tracks everything. We talked about having an irreversible insight, which is that the one point that you want to get across that will change their lives forever. We've talked about positioning ourselves against the different escapes that they will take. And we've talked about how they're entering feeling and how are they leaving. What is their state feeling? And what is the cost of not acting? Once we have all that, we create what's called friction lines. We're going to create 10 different friction lines, right? Which, think of these like your truth bombs, the new rules, the reframes, and the pattern interrupts. You are going to write, based off everything we just discussed, what are the 10 most important lines in our workshop that we are going to say and hit and do that will interrupt their life, that will support everything we just out loud. I want you to write those down. I want you to say them out loud and cut anything that needs explanation. One sentence, each clear truth bombs. Each one of those 10 should make you go, oh shit, this is gonna be good. This is gonna piss some people off, right? 10 truth bombs. We keep them visible during all of our future writing and rehearsal. They govern what we do. Once we have that overall understanding, what we're going to do is create an overall call to action. So we have to, of course, before going in and filling in the details, we understand what a person now is going to be entering, thinking and believing and feeling, what they're going to be exiting, thinking and believing and feeling, the different steps and things that they have to accept to take them from point A to point B. And we have to fill in first, what are they going to do when they leave? What is their action step? That is very important because you're not just coming to just educate them, you're coming to change their life, and how they're going to change their life is by taking action in your office, right? And so whatever it is for whatever talk, you're going to have that action step so that everything that you put into the workshop is feeding that. That is important. Most of us treat our call to action like an afterthought. I put all of this information in there and it's like, oh, by the way, you learned a lot, schedule an appointment. No. The call to action is primary. End of the day, it's the reason that you are there, right? We have, I like to say, a primary call to action, which is a single step, a backup call to action if they're not ready. But it's like if you're here, then do this routing, right? We're going to write our call to action wording verbatim, word for word. A lot of us will write different sections, the intro word for word, other pieces like that. But our call to action, we don't ever have it written out word for word. We fluff it at the end. We throw a bunch of shit together. We stumble over our words. We speed up or slow down or lower our voice or get really quiet. We rush through the call to action and it never really lands. We are going to script this word for word and practice it. We can edit it as we go throughout the rest of the workshop planning, but we need to have this right from the get-go written word for word so we know what we're building towards and we crush this section. After we have our CTA, we're going to build the 6-block spine and time block of the workshop. Now, our 6-block spine, basically, there are 6 different sections that every workshop, every talk that we do, whether it's 2 hours or 20 minutes, we're going to take every person through these different 6 steps. And what we're going to do is plan how long we are going to be in each of these different steps. So what I like to do when I've been doing all the planning for these 5 different workshops I've been doing is basically take all of my notes up to this point and upload it and get an idea, hey, this is what I am thinking based off of what we're thinking and feeling. Can you help me time block these 6 different steps? The hook is going to be from minute 0 to 4. The next thing is going to be from 4 to 8. Like, what are the exact times so I know what to fill in? The 6-block spine that we're going to work through is our opening or hook, fracture, reveal, proof, mirror, and the close and call to action. I'm going to break down each of these specifically. Our opening or hook is basically the thing that is going to get them engaged in the first place. How are we going to keep their attention and foreshadow what they are going to learn? Basically, we start by hooking them and getting them to pay attention and let them know that when they stay to the end, this is what they're going to be leaving the room with today. We call them out. If you're here, it's probably because this. We are going to establish stakes in terms of why this matters, and we are going to set the tone. Confident, human, no fluff. We're going to preview where we are going. My issue, and if I do like a 1-hour workshop in the past, something is that I've spent so much time building up the opening and hook with stats and figures and why this is important and what is the state of the world today, right? And I spent so much time prepping, and then the actual rest of the things and the proof and the call to action were really, really, really rushed. Our opening should be really, really, really short, like in an hour. I mean, it should be like 4 or 5 minutes, 8 minutes. We have room for the rest. But that is something that's very important. That opening or hook is stop number 1. Fracture. We need to name what they are currently thinking and feeling and doing, what they think is true. We need to expose why it's failing for them. This is why writing those friction lines, the irreversible insight, the false escapes, everything else like that is so important. We have been building the emotional state of the fracture. We're going to call out maybe 2 or 3 of those different false escapes that they've had and raise up the cost of doing nothing. We're going to create the tension of this is why this keeps happening. This is why this is happening in your world. This is why you are showing up here today. And we are going to essentially just bring up the way that they entered the world and break that down. Once we've broken down where they're coming in with, well, now we get to rebuild on top of it, which comes after we've opened, we've fractured. Now it's time to do the reveal. We're going to deliver the irreversible insight in one key line. We've destroyed their old story. We start to write the new one, the better lens. We're going to introduce 3 to 5 repeatable patterns. Just introduce it for us to look at. And from a chiropractic perspective, this would be something like what we see. When we see this, what does it mean? And when it means that, what do we check? So these things, what do we see, are things that they can start to see as well and say, wow, this does relate to me. This pattern does relate to me. This is important to me. I can't continue to go down this step any longer. Once we've revealed that irreversible insight, we're going to deliver the proof. 2 to 3, let's say teaching assets, proof assets, case stories, something else, stories that explain the irreversible insight. We're proving to them through story, letting them think and feel, take them through 3 different journeys of somebody who's gone through that exact process, right? The before, the intervention, the after, with one clear point. We're going to address the obvious objections that are inside the proof and always anchor our proof back to the irreversible insight. Once we've proven for what happens for other people, right? So we've started with our intro, we've fractured their thinking, we have revealed a new way of thinking, we have proven that thinking this way is possible for other people, and now we get to mirror this back onto them. If this is true for them, what does this mean for you? We need to clearly call out the identity shift that they are making, their old approach versus a new approach. Make this cost personal. And we need to talk about that cost in real words that they would also use. Does it cost time? What does that look like? Does it cost stress and peace of mind? What does that look like? Does it cost their trajectory change in their kids? And what does that trajectory change look like? Does it cost just the pain of regret? And what does that look like? We will create a moment of quiet accountability for them with no shame, but just truth, and start to bridge the emotionality of that into action. Here's what I would do next. Then we get to close it out. Summarize the whole talk in 3 bullets: fracture, reveal, next step. Deliver the call to action as a single next step with a single pathway, and you have scripted this, and we do this word for word. We can also give if-then routing. If you want to give them an action step of if you're not ready yet, do this, but you should be, if you like that. And we're going to drop a residue line, which we'll talk about later, okay, in just a second. The residue line is the line that we need for them, the line that we want them to leave with that they talk about in the car or on the next day, right? What is a line that sticks with them? We haven't written the residue line yet. I'm just explaining what we're putting these different sections for when you time block it, with a clear end and a thank you and what happens next. So again, just to recap, we're going to look at the 6-block spine. I just gave you descriptions of what happens in each of those: our opening, our hook, our fracture, our reveal, our proof, our mirror, and our close to action. We've just written out those 6 things and literally said, understanding what is in each of those sections, how long are we going to spend on each of those? I spent, 5-10 minutes describing to you what the actual things were, but for this step, literally all we're doing, this is why I like AI for it. Hey, based off of everything we're trying to do, upload it. How many minutes do you think we should spend on each of these different sections? And then we are going to write a governing sentence for each block: intro, fracture, reveal, proof, mirror, close or call to action. 1 sentence for what each block must accomplish. And every slide, every story that we tell is governed by that sentence. If it does not serve that goal of the block, it gets cut or it gets removed. The blocks do not overlap. We have clear governing sentence, clear intention of what we are accomplishing in each of those 6 steps. After we understand what is there in a governing role, now we create what's called a beat map. There are 3 different points of emotions and reactions of our audience that we want to script. we have to have a gasp moment, a quiet moment, and that residue line that we discussed. So now the next step is choosing what block they go in and scripting out the line for our gasp, which is when the people go, what's the surprise truth? What is the pattern interrupt, the reveal? The quiet moment, where they get quiet and they think and reflect, where they have their identity shift. And their residue line, that one sentence that if we want to say they're going to leave, what are they going to repeat later when someone asks them what they learned from this workshop? That's our residue line, what sticks. We're going to mark the exact spots, write it out, and pause to let it land. The next step, select 3 to 5 parent anchors. This is the 3 to 5, this is my life moments. We use them to open up our teaching loops and bridge our transitions from section to section. We tie each anchor to a pattern and to a next step and keep them consistent across the talk. Now we get to build our teaching loops. We have our anchor story or symptom for each loop. We're going to discuss the pattern, what we see, what it means, what we checked. We're going to have a quick case or example or story that goes along with that. We call that micro proof. And then the takeaway line that they can repeat. Same thing for teaching line loop 1 is the next step. Same line for teaching loop 2 is the next step. Same line for teaching loop 3, which is the next step. And then we get to write and bridge and talk about how we bridge from those stories and mirror into our takeaway line and transition line into the CTA section. Next step is to really build and choose more of those 3 stories, get more clear. Story 1, I like to choose that it's just a fast win, clean and simple. This person came in with this. This is what they left with. Story 2 is a more complex case with depth and credibility. Story 3 is very important. We call this a near-miss lesson. This is our humility and authority story. This is where we almost missed something, and then we realized this, and that changed everything for me and what I'm telling you tonight for the rest, and why our care is so good, okay? Once we have all of that, oh my gosh, which is so much. Don't worry, I'm going to recap it again in the end. It's time to create a time-coded bullet outline. Bullet by bullet by bullet by bullet, section by section by section by section. What are we saying? Time-coded. Timestamps per block and loop. No paragraphs yet at this point. We assign the friction lines to the stories and beats. We put that up and we say exactly, we highlight in our bullet which one or where does the friction line go, which we wrote all of those all need to go in. Where does the story go? And is this one of our beat, our gasp, quiet, or residue? Within those beats, any what we call high stake moment, we are going to script those word for word. Once we have all of that, we script our opening hook, word for word. We again go back and revise and script our irreversible insight, word for word. Our objection killer section, word for word, because we have those false escapes, so we need to script that word for word. Then we go back and we script our call to action, revise it to make sure it fits with everything we just built. We script our residue, and we script that word for word. Once we have all of that, now what have we created? We have certain sections that we've scripted word for word that we can practice, and we have an overall bullet section by section by section by section. Now it's really easy to just create the slides. Honestly, if you wanted at this point, you have so much there that you've created. Upload the document again to AI and say, hey, build me the slide map. I want a slide with one key idea per slide, and then tell me what visual note to go in. Put it into a new document, tag it to block and loop, cut away any just nice to know slides that aren't important. And then we go into the step that I call the content freeze. Our job now is to review everything, take a step back, take a day, take 2 to step away from it, come back and lock the spine, the loops, the stories, the call to action, and the map, and make sure that we are good with it. At that point, the only edits that are allowed from now are to simplify, clarify, or tighten. So for me, what I do, I hate PowerPoint and design. I like good PowerPoints, I upload that document to my graphic editor and I say, you have 1 week to give me back a PowerPoint. And I don't do anything for a week. Once it comes back, I look, I give her notes, I make sure it looks the way that we want to look. Once we have everything edited, the PowerPoint is saved, we've decided we're good. Now it's rehearsal time. We're going to build in 3 different rehearsals. Rehearsal number 1 is a timed full run where you have your bullets and your script sections with you. You're going to use the PowerPoint, you're going to run it full with the timer, and you're going to track the time per block, see where you're on, see where you're off. Make sure you mark any rambles or unclear transitions. Fix your timing leaks, not content. Rehearsal 2, full run with bullets only, no scripted sections. Clear transitions between loops, practice recovering from your blank space, and hit time without rushing. We can get power reps on our opening section, our mirror section, and our close. When you've got time, I want you saying that opening section word for word 10 to 20 times. I want you saying the quiet mirror moment 10 to 20 times. I want you saying the call to action and residue close 10 to 20 times. Make it automatic under stress. And then you do a live human run in front of one real person. No interruptions, full flow. Ask them at the end, what was the main insight that you got? What would you say is the next step? If they can't repeat and answer that, fix it. And then you've got your dress rehearsal. Slides, clicker, mic, room flow, whatever else you want to do. Treat it like talk day. You have cue cards, whatever else you want. Make sure you're hitting everything. Your time locks, your friction lines, your beat map, your call to action, and then deliver the actual workshop itself. Record it if you want. Immediately debrief and take notes. Understand where they laughed, where they leaned in, where they got quiet. Write down the best questions if you got any afterwards, any objections. Document your call to action, your response rate, and their behavior, and add that to your notes. Because gosh, the next time that you write one of these workshops, you're going to upload all of those notes in your master document into AI to say, this is what we built last time. We're going to build the same thing for this. These are the objections that we got. This is where it didn't go well. This is where it went well. So that your AI can help you and say, hey, this is the context. This is what I would change based off of what you did last time. And you just go through the same process, the same process, the same process, the same process. So this is a lot of steps, okay? And I'm going to go recap all of them. But the important thing is that if you know that this is coming a month out, 2 months, 3 months out, you should be able to take each of these different steps and schedule in your calendar when you do these things. If you don't have room in your calendar to do this, you're probably doing too much. So these are the exact steps that we went through together. First, we created step 1. We created a master workshop document. It takes a couple minutes. Next, we created our irreversible insight, scripted it word for word. Next, we went through our calls, escapes, and counterframe. That was step 3. Step 4, entry and exit state, plus the cost of acting. Step 5, friction lines, 10 of them. Step 6, call to action and clarity pathway skeleton. Step 7, we built our 6-block spine and time blocks. Step 8, we had our governing sentence per block. Step 9, our beat map. Where did we gasp? Where did they get quiet? What's our residue line? Step 10, 3 to 5 parent anchors. Step 11, teaching loop 1. Step 12, build teaching loop 2. Step 13, build teaching loop 3. Step 14, case library with 3 stories to go into our teaching loops. Step 15, time-coded bullet outline. Step 16, script high-stake moments word for word. Step 17, the actual slide map blueprint. Step 18, content freeze, send it to the editor, wait a week for the return. Step 19, review the slide, consolidate revisions. Step 20, final approval of the PowerPoint and export ready to go. Step 21, rehearsal number 1, full timed, script aloud. Step 22, rehearsal number 2, minimal script. Step 23, the power reps, repeat, opening, mirror, and close, 10 to 20 times each, just while you're taking a shit. Step 24 maybe, the live human run. Step 25, dress rehearsal if you feel that you need it. Step 26, making a talk day cue card for you to review, and then deliver, debrief, and upload. Take those steps, give it to your VA, put it in your motion calendar, and just do exactly what it says to do when it says to do it. Congratulations, you now have a framework to change people's lives every time that you step up to talk to them. The email list is a way to fill your advanced workshops using your current email list. And you can also get all of our workflows to be able to do that in Go High Level at thecranialdoc.com/membership. But of course, I just want you putting your truth out there through a way that isn't just people leaving saying, this is nice to know, in a way that makes them changed forever. And because they're changed forever, they're going to do things differently. And that includes your care. Go get more people face down because the world deserves it, Doc. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Cranial Doc podcast. I hope you got a ton of value out of today's episode. And if you did, it would mean the world to me if you jumped over to iTunes or your favorite podcast player of choice and subscribed, rated, reviewed, and shared this episode with a friend that you know could benefit. We have a ton of this information and more in our free email series at thecranialdoc.com. So go ahead and jump on there, subscribe, and get me raw, unfiltered in your inbox every week, changing your practice. Can't wait to see you for the next episode.